front of me.
Oh, yeah. Check this out. Clown, give me just a second. I've got something very important to tell you guys. There's going to be a little bit of change coming real soon. And nobody knows about it until right now. You'll be the first to find out. This hasn't even hit the news wire yet. The press release does not go out until tomorrow, but you hear it first right here, right now. Memphis Wrestling is leaving CW30. On Friday night, September 1st, Memphis Wrestling will premiere on WMC Action News Plus, baby! So for those die-hard fans that grew up watching Channel 5, Memphis Wrestling is coming home! Now check this out, guys. What that means for you guys is that a whole lot more people are gonna see your crazy faces on Memphis Wrestling.
All right. Big news, as we used to say every time we had something. This is big news.
Huge.
Back to WMC 5. I told a story on Patreon a couple of weeks back. Actually, it's going to be on this week's show, where I talked about if it wasn't for WMC 5, my buddy Lance Levine wouldn't even be part of the podcast, because that's where I met him from Chicago. We went to wrestling. We had a convention. It all started right there in WMC 5. I know this, I never asked you this, but was this always in the back of your mind? God, I would love to be on 5, just like the other versions of Memphis Wrestling.
1,000,000%. Oh yeah, absolutely. You shoot for the stars, and sometimes you might hit the clouds, sometimes you might not hit anything. But man, we aimed really high. CW30 was a great station, one of the highest viewed CW stations in the nation, helped bring Memphis Wrestling back. But now I think that we've outgrown that platform, so to speak, and we're moving on to WMC Action News Plus platform. Bigger than ever, BT. WMC is bigger than it was back in the day. It is huge. One of the things that we always look at and talk about is social scores and social media interactions and all that kind of stuff. At this point, I think CW30 has maybe 3,200 likes on Facebook. WMC has 500,000. Memphis Wrestling's over 20,000. So, we just need a bigger platform for more people to see us. It's perfect. Memphis Wrestling coming home to the WMC platforms. And I say it's bigger because it's more than just a television station at this point. And this deal that we have with WMC is to help bring the audience from the online platforms to come and watch on Action News 5 Plus. So you can watch it over the airwaves on television, just like you do right now on CW30. You can watch it on their app, which is absolutely free. You can watch anywhere in the world, and you can watch it on their website. So just like YouTube, just like Fight Plus or anything like that, but you do not have to pay a subscription fee. You do not have to pay for the app. It's absolutely free. You can watch first on WMC Action News Plus.
This is really something you would pulling curtains back, you hardly ever tell me anything in advance. Zero. You don't. Number one, I hate being spoiled, but you kind of tipped me off a little bit about this and said, I'm not saying it's happening, but I think it's happening. I said, let's, I don't want to hear everything about it, but I want everybody that's listening, this goes out, this will go out on Patreon on the day it was recorded, and then it will go out on the main feed on Sunday afternoon, a special big news after rolling into Memphis. The next day we'll have big news going out on the main feed. But so it's going to come on at 12 o'clock midnight on the
No,
Friday preceding, or what
no.
time? Okay.
So Fridays starting September 1st, Friday, September 1st, we start there. It's going to be at 11 p.m. on Friday. So pretty much
Okay.
immediately
All right. All
following
right.
SmackDown. And then you can watch it again on Saturday on the same WMC Action News Plus at noon. So we have two airings on WMC, 11 p.m. Friday, noon on Saturday. All of the other television markets will stay exactly the same. We'll still do our live chat on YouTube at noon Central Standard Time. Fight Plus will still go 11 p.m. Saturday on WBBGA out in CBS Jackson, Tube 10. All the other
Right.
stations will
Right.
stay
Stay the
exactly the
same.
same. The only thing that's changing is CW30. We're moving from there to WMC Action
Now,
News.
if my mom has WMC Channel 5 there in Steele, Missouri, will she be able to watch it on that local channel?
Yes, it's over the airwaves. I want to say 5.2 or something like that. It's
Right,
their
right,
bounce
right.
channel.
Yes, she.
It's the same channel that 901 FC Soccer comes on, and I believe Penny Hardaway's coaches show comes on that channel as well.
All right. And so what time would she be watching? Same time it comes on the app there?
11 p.m. on Friday, noon on Saturday. So she'll have two opportunities. What I think will happen is I think people are in the mode of watching and live chatting with us on Saturday. So I think people are going to check it out on Friday so they can go ahead and watch it first and then watch it on Saturday, almost like when you're watching a movie in a theater with somebody that already knows what's going to happen. Hey, watch this, watch this. So I think the fans are going to be like, hey, wait till you see what comes up next.
Right, right. I just
No spoilers.
no, that's the way I am. I'm no spoilers, no spoilers, and what we've been doing this for weeks, where we get advanced copy at Rolling Into Info and be able to, because I produce content for you, and I was spending my whole Saturday just working on it. So you were nice enough. Here, let's get this. What do you think? Well, look, and you get more eyes on it. What is there, six of us or five or six of us that get the recording of an advance, and we're able to look at it and say, okay, right after a minute, I've said this many times to you, after the 12-minute mark, there's a glitch or something
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that. You'll go, it's already fixed, but you're able to put some eyes on it. That's one thing. And also ahead of time kind of see, and I never get spoiled. Thank God. I never hear anything. There was a hint that we was going to have a new champion last week. And I was not sure y'all were going to do that, but then we saw Austin Lane win. And then there's been some stuff going on. And I'm going to tell you, and we're going to talk about this as we go, but the Lance McKay thing, I was on this podcast kidding about he was going to turn and he was going to be with the posse. I was joking. At no time did I ever think that was going to happen. But with all these people, extra people being able to see the product, I want you to let the listeners know what that means to you. You said something in a video. There's going to be so many more people seeing your faces, but that's not only seeing them, man, it's seeing you. It's seeing the talent. It's kind of explain what, and I'm going to talk about some stars that you brought in, are going to bring in, but what does it mean to them also?
Well, when we bring people in, it's to me, it's about the building. Like when you bring in a feature person that's on Impact or AEW or whatever, when they walk in the door, it's all about the venue because they go to so many. I want to know how our venue ranks with the air conditioning and, cleanliness and all that kind of stuff. What it means for the wrestling fans is these fans fill up our facility each and every time, capacity, over capacity, dare I say. And so for them, they are loud, they are crazy, they dress in costumes, they tailgate outside. This is a huge, like, fun experience for them, just like it is for us. So for them to have more eyeballs on them, they're the stars of the show. But then also for the wrestlers too, but not just for the wrestlers, but for business. If a WWE knows that we're on back on WMC, they know the power of these television stations. They run commercials in these markets. They know, you know what I mean? And then it's just the professionalism of everything, but it's very weird. This business is an individual business, but then also it's a team business because you have to have a team that helps elevate you with their platform. So whenever we have the opportunity to have more eyeballs on our wrestlers and our fans and what have you, um, I don't think that's a negative thing at all.
Oh,
Zero.
it's
Zilch.
fantastic, and I talk about this. I have tooted your horn on this a bunch of times. But we see you at at the Redbirds. So you just got through doing the Redbirds game. You did the Grizzly thing. You were on Bill Street, and we don't. And I'm not saying this because it's well. Let me just say, if I was just on the outside, I would see that that's what you see. Memphis Wrestling, the TV show Memphis Wrestling, is the only promotion in this area doing anything like that. There's not because it's. And I was at one of the spot shows, and I know you thought about this, and I was really thinking about this. Are people really watching the TV show? So I was waiting for sound. Is all I when the wrestlers would walk out, and they were getting huge pops. Like they knew who those guys was, which is the most important thing is knowing somebody on that poster.
They're not the
You,
only ones watching either.
I
They're not
know,
the only ones watching. So when the whole thing happened with WMC, gosh, we were just fresh off of Young Rock. We were booking folks for WWE extra stuff, and I went and toured WMC Studios. They invited me out to and tour the studios. They took me down to where the ring was. It was kind of cool peeking your head into the offices and people like looking up over their cubicles and stuff. And you see Ron Childers, Joyce Peterson, just a bunch of people, and they're waving and they know who you are because they all go to the Grizzlies games. They all
right.
see you around. You see the same people around. Joe Birch cut a promo on me at one of the 5Ks last year with the championship belt over his shoulder and all that stuff. So I went in, I toured. They even showed me one of the old posts that had an old pad on it. Just a nothing special, just a pad around this post. And they said that was from Memphis Wrestling. That's the one thing that's still here.
Oh
And
wow.
this immaculate studio that you would never ever set a wrestling ring up in. Like this thing is decked out with screens and cameras and all sorts of stuff. So yeah, there's no way they'd ever let wrestling fans in there for shooting in studio. But good thing because we have our Wrestle Center instead of the
Right.
studio.
Someone mentioned to me, said, "Are they going to tape it?" I said, "No, that will
No,
never
no, 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 no.
happen. They have wrestle.
So
They have the
I
wrestle
in
center."
turn invite them to come and tour our facility. It was a must, in my opinion. They really need to see what we have going on here. And so when they came in, they really liked it. And they actually told me that they have viewed a lot of wrestling programs over the years, a lot. And they informed me that ours was by far the most polished and just how excited they were to have this partnership coming. So
Well,
that's how it all went down.
that comes with time, and it also comes with you polishing it for other things too. And,
Yeah,
and then it's almost like you're ready for this change. You're ready
right.
for this more of audience to look at. You got to
This
show.
is this is not something you can go in and say, "Hey, here's what I'm gonna do."
Right.
If you go in there and you pitch that I'm gonna do this, they're like, "Okay, well, show me." But if you go in there and you've already done the work, it's just like getting a job in wrestling. You go there and you're out of shape, they're gonna tell you you need to get in shape. Why go if you already know what's gonna happen? So get in shape and then go. So what we did is we got in shape and then we went, and then once all this started happening, we were already ready already.
Right. And you're looking at, almost every show I have to be so nitpicky now. I'll say I don't like them. And it's things that I don't like, but it's
Man, lay off
hard to be.
the black and
Come
white.
on,
Come
come on
on.
now.
That's
Come on.
highlights. That's this is not happening in the moment. This is an easy way to let you
No
know
one
that we're showing you something that happened
no one
previously.
knows that,
Come on.
Dustin. No
You know
one knows.
what? If you have to revert back to, oh, I don't like the color that they had the highlight in, then bro, there's no misses.
There you go. But I agree. I've got a good miss to coming this coming week. You'll like it. But it's one of those things where it's just so you got to think the whole staff here, but you guys are just boom. And I know there's a formula of some sort. You've even, me and you argued about time limits. And I said, you're only given X amount for, well, that's what we do. So I know y'all got a formula, but I'm not seeing it anymore. I told you this on the last show that I used to know, well, these three
Yes.
shows were together. I don't see that anymore.
Well, we're
So
not we're
that's what I
not
like most about it.
we're not, I don't want to use the word greedy, but we're not trying to get too much out of all of the feature attractions. So if it's a 1 week thing with them, cool. As long as it's something that's really, really good that week. If it's a 3 week thing, like Chris Masters coming, is it 2 weeks? Is it 3 weeks? Is it 1 week? So you don't really know because Alan Angels was just there for a match. He didn't do a 3 week story. Whereas Tommy Dreamer came in and he was on all 3 weeks and then had a big match or whatever. So yeah, we are trying to mix it up to where we don't have to use that person or that character all 3 episodes. Let's just make one episode really awesome. Boom. I think there was one time you said, "Man, that match should have been the main event." No, we wanted it first, so that way it would start off hot.
Right,
Just
right, right. Yeah, yeah.
keep you on your
There's
toes.
I was really the Allen Angels thing, I was really lost. I was like, why didn't they at least introduce why didn't it? But there was a reason for that. And so we had Allen Angels on there for one match and got Bosby over good with that.
That was
Uh
it.
but it is something that someone would be watching and then keep watching. We have a longtime listener to my podcast. He goes as Brano Lasto on Twitter. I do not know him except for Twitter. He's not the real Brano Lasto. But he has started. He started watching on a regular basis when I said something about why don't y'all start around 100, and he started watching it, and he'll message me every Saturday, and he's like, man, there is nothing wrong with that show. It is so good. It goes by so fast. And this is a guy from, a northern, he's up north and everything. So he's not been a fan of Memphis wrestling as a long term. He's even went back now. He's starting to watch the first episodes and
Oh
then
boy.
starting to listen to all the shooting stars because now he knows the characters, he knows the
Right.
people, he knows the and everything. So it's people like that. Then there's some guy in one of our groups, in our Facebook groups. He comments almost every week, "Hey, I like this," or "What?" Blah blah blah, and it's fun to watch those people become fans because I call myself I'm easy. There's people around here. I was easy because I loved Memphis wrestling.
Well,
I
and
wanted to watch a
you
new
know a lot of
product,
the
and I know the
wrestlers.
people. I know
Yeah,
the
so
people.
it's very easy for you to watch and also kind of be a little bit of a homer, because
Oh
you know
yeah,
everybody. But I think that you either get it or you don't. And what I mean is my buddy said, "Hey, I watched the Lance Archer thing and I laughed. The way that you showed the bodies and then you went to the feet and all that." And he said, "But by the end of it, I kept watching it and by the end of it, I was kind of laughing and I liked it. It was just kind of hokey and kind of cheesy, but it worked." And I was like,
that's
"That's what I'm
wrestling.
going for.
That's
That's
wrestling.
Memphis wrestling." He's like, "Oh no, there's dead bodies everywhere. Murder Hogmaster, here he comes." Which that was a whole shoot, by the way. Quick side story. He busted through that curtain. We had not counted down the wrestlers or anything, the fans. The camera guys literally lifted up their cameras super fast. It was like a shoot. He just busted in there, started doing his stuff, and I'm like, "Man, I hope we got it." And so what you saw was really a shoot on what happened, but
What
um,
there's something that I just thought of, and I said I was easy because I was a Memphis wrestling fan, and you pointed out I know some of the people. I knew the names. Some of them I had never seen. For instance, Big Red, Brett Michaels. I know all these guys. I've been on shows with them. Brett Michaels actually wrestled for my promotion. Uh, but how do you get? And I see we've always seen this criticism since you started, and it's died down a lot. It has. This is not Memphis wrestling. Or how do you get
oh,
the old fans watching? Because I've seen people say, "Oh, that's not Memphis." How do you bring those guys? I started watching in late '70s. I feel like the biggest era, the best stuff was kind of when Jeff Jarrett was going through. Me and Jeff are the same age. But when he was coming up, some of that stuff was so good. Not the older, I mean, older stuff was good, but I really liked Memphis wrestling then when I was in high school. But how do you think you're bringing those people on? And are you seeing that age group? What is the age group that's watching the show?
it's definitely a younger viewing audience. Um, getting that older audience back might be with the WMC Action News Plus, just because they'll see it, they'll run across it if they like it on Facebook, and and there are older people that are getting news on Facebook and stuff now. So it just wherever, if we could just capture those people. I know that in December, I'll give you a little nugget here. We've got handsome Jimmy Valiant, the Boogie Woogie
Oh
Man
wow,
coming.
yeah.
on December the 10th. I think Boogie Claus is coming to town or something like that. But that's another way to get those diehard fans.
Well, we
You do
talked,
you
yeah.
do have people that watch pretty regularly, even just going through our Facebook page and watching, and they'll put comments there, like hateful comments, like, "Oh, Lance Russell will be rolling over in his grave," and I'd be like, "All right, well, thanks for watching," because you're on our page making the comment. You know what I mean?
And
Or
I mentioned my mom. You know, my mom started me watching wrestling, and she watched. Man, she's a huge wrestling fan. Watches Raw, Dynamite, SmackDown, Collision.
dang,
But every Saturday, it is. You know, I got to call her before. I got to call her at 11 o'clock, so we don't be. We're not talking while her wrestling's on. And she loves it. She really recently. I mean, she's been watching since day one and listening to the Rolling Into Memphis. But recently, it's so well done. That's why I look at it sometimes and I think this is so slick. This is so slick.
yeah.
And if you go back and watch the old Memphis tapes, uh, people don't understand how.
Look, man,
Oh, it was just not even close. It was just not even
man,
close.
somebody's gonna clip this and try to get some heat with me about it.
Oh
But
yeah, no, no.
those old Memphis tapes, the studio, the wrestling, some of it was the drizzling shits. It was so bad, but it was what we had. It's what we loved. I still love it to this day. Don't get me wrong. I love it to death. But when you go back and watch, there's not very many competitive matches. It's a lot of Lance and Dave at the desk. So I never thought there was a lot of me and Maria or me and Terrence or whatever, unless we were doing the syndicated show beforehand. But I feel like, man, they literally hosted that entire thing. There were like 6 minute segments. Sometimes it would just be them talking at the desk. Now there was some big angles that went down, but for the most part, man, you had like squash matches and it
That's
was
all you had,
commercials
and the
for
reason why is
Monday.
that was a commercial.
Yep.
The 90
Our
minute show.
show there, and it is a different day and age. It's just like saying that Patrick Mahomes is so much better than Johnny Unitas, who was, in the
Right, right, right,
1970s or
right.
something. But man, it's so good. The talent is so good. Those feature attractions are so good. The camera operators are so good. This week on the show, we were actually watching Sunday's taping back on Monday's training just so we can see top of the mind. And we were talking about not only is the camera getting real close on their faces, but our talent is feeding to those cameras, making it easier. So you're
Yeah,
going to
that's
see
what we're
these
supposed to be. Yeah,
up
yeah.
close nice shots of reactions and facial expressions and stuff, and that's where you start getting recognized out in public, is when you're feeding that camera everything it needs to see for those
We
people.
talked
But
about that. I've talked about it with
woo,
the talent on
they're
here
killing it,
about
brother.
it's totally different. TV's totally different, and then when you learn it, you make so much more out of it. I noticed Austin Lane does a lot of that, and Matt Williams.
Yep.
The older guys kind of understand the cam, but then you got these younger guys; they're showing out too, right in front of it.
Right. Some of the younger ones, the game has not quite slowed down just yet, so you'll see things happening a little faster. But you got to remember, Mackenzie Morgan, even a Tim Bosby, Big John Dalton's. Who am I leaving out? Draco's. Um, Gosh, Ray Collins. They've got less than 40 matches under their belt, and they're doing really, really good stuff on TV.
I agree. I agree 100%.
Unbelievable.
Let's we're going to WMC. I've got you for at least 30 more minutes. So let's talk about some stuff real quick. You recently had and I want to know what their was this Fandango's first time and Chris's first time when they came in? What was were they good, easy to deal with? Because you shoot on this. If they weren't, you're gonna tell me. But then what did they think about the Wrestle Center?
Two things: they love the Wrestle Center, and they were awesome. They were just we had Chris Masters come to an outdoor show that we had previously. So that was a couple of years ago, and I'd always told him we'd bring him back to TV. I really wanted to bring him during Rumble time because there's always this big thing that he's going to be in the Royal Rumble. And so I was going to have him do a surprise entrance into our Grind City Rumble, but
Right,
then this
right.
came along ahead. And so he came in, did great stuff. And me and him have known each other for quite a
I
while. So
thought so. You've been how long did was he there in the WWE when
he
you
was
did your stuff or
He
what?
was not. This was just through the indies. We worked together at the Global Force Wrestling show,
Oh
and
yeah,
then
yeah, yeah.
brought him in, and then we just remained friends. He's a big Lakers fan, and he knows I work for the Grizzlies, so we talk some trash back and forth. But he came in, did really, really good. Fandango, Dirty Dango was
Dirty.
awesome. I worked with him at FCW out in the developmental. So when I was texting him, I was telling him, "Hey, it's Dustin. I was a ref, Dustin from Memphis," and he's like, "Hey, Dustin, the ref from Memphis." So literally, he came in, he's like, "Dustin, the ref," and gave me a big hug. And I said, "You are the only person on planet Earth that ever called me that." And he just laughed, but he thought it looked very similar to what Steve Kern had built in FCW, and that was the whole point. And really liked it. Actually, was hitting me up for some more dates. We might see some more Dirty Dango, but they were just awesome at the VIP area. The fans just loved them, and I was actually surprised. I don't want to take anything away from Dango and Masters, but they really outdrew Lance Archer versus Cruel.
Oh,
And I
wow.
and I
Yeah,
think it
yeah.
has something to do with Beale Street, and then has something to do with AutoZone Park, because there were a lot of people out there that saw us for the first time. And then also, I had one of my partners from Orion Federal Credit Union send me a text on Monday morning and said, "Hey, I saw where SummerSlam had like 250 quadrillion views online this weekend." And I was like, "Yes, ma'am." And I sent her a picture of the Wrestle Center and said, "It's a trickle down effect. Wrestling's doing really good right
Yeah, it's
now."
very hot everywhere. The indies are drawing very well. If you put on a good product, if you're doing the same old stuff, you're not going to get it. Same old shiznit, as we like to say.
Yeah.
You got to tell me. A couple of the boys reached out to me and was
Ooh.
talking about. No, this is a good story. But I'm going to give you the opportunity to tell it. I don't talk to a lot of your talent. I mean, Austin Lane and me have been friends forever.
Some of the older guys. Some of the
Some
older
of the
guys.
older guys. I mean, me and you don't talk as much as everyone thinks we do. Uh, but tell the Lance Archer story. Lance came in from where? Landed. He was in
Oh,
Canada. Came in. He said, "I saw this on him in the match, by the way, coming up this Saturday. It'll be well, if you're doing Patreon, but he looked a little tired. Tell me
did
about his
he?
trip."
Oh, I thought he looked awesome. No, man. So
I
the
think
first,
because I knew the story. I knew
yeah,
the
one
story.
of the first times we booked Lance Archer, he was coming off a Texas death match against Moxley, who was the world champion. So I'm like,
Right, right.
"Whoa, you got to be kidding me!" So this time when I reached out, because Dr. Tom had to move his date, he was coming for the seminar, but the next day could not make it because he had to be at Draw's celebration of life. Draws had passed away
Right, right.
right around
Yeah.
that time. So Archer was not going to New Japan like he thought that he might be. So when I followed up, he's like, "I'm in." It's like, "Yes, this is awesome." And so that week, it was like, this is not what happened, and it's totally stupid for me to even say it, but it's like Tony Khan literally said, "Oh, Archer's going to Memphis. Let's put him on the show, pal," or whatever, because he literally single-handedly destroyed all the best friends, including Orange Cassidy, on Friday.
Yep.
And then on Saturday, he destroyed Orange Cassidy again, did everything but beat him for that international championship. And then he got on a plane. He said he literally left the locker room, grabbed his bag, hopped on in the car, went to the airport, flew into Memphis, and got here. No sleep. We did have him an early check-in at the Marriott, which they could not find the note in the system.
Oh my
So
God.
mad ass monster Lance Archer heads over here to the Wrestle Center, hangry as hell, tired. He was awesome though, but and then went straight to the ring and did his thing, did the media scrum after, and then we sent him to the airport and he went home. Man, he came in and did awesome business, but he didn't sleep for probably 48 hours, probably even longer than that, because gearing up for two big nights like Rampage, Collision, and all that, and then
And
flying from
settle
Canada
down. Yeah,
in, and
yeah.
just, oh my gosh. So big
I
props to
thought that
Archer.
was a funny story, and I thought people not involved around Memphis Wrestling would love that, because the thing about it is, they tell a story. I've heard stories about Lance and Doc Galloway's that they put up. They were doing indie shows after their WWE run, after big runs, and they still help with the ring. And I was
Yeah.
just like,
Oh,
okay, all right.
there's no